Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, officially crazy, so nothing changed in truth, and that's a bit sad, but hey, this is life. Hello, my dear, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, getting used to going back to work and all the weird laws in the UK about what you can and can't do. And it's just like, oh dear, you know what? I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to go out there. It doesn't make sense to me. I think I'll just stay home and watch horror movies.
That's always a good idea, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, let's do that, Zoe.
Yep,
Even because outside world is overrated.
most definitely.
Nothing good is happening there, so hey, we can stay home. We are used to that now. Today we are going to talk about a movie called The Taking of Deborah Logan. And people, thank you, Zoe. I have to admit, I finally found my peace with found footage movies.
Yay! I told you they were good.
Because really, this one is an amazing example of how you should make such movies.
Mm-hmm.
It was well done. It was amazingly filmed. It was amazingly acted. The actors are very good. All of them. You can't really like many of them because they all have their flaws. But that's right, because they are all humans. So that's perfectly fine. And it got a good plot. Not many plot holes, just a little bit, because like always, if you don't have an iron script, you will always end up with some holes in a plot, above all during an horror movie, because if you want to give a good closure to your movie, it's almost natural to have some holes. And people, the end of this movie, the last scene, while the reporter is talking about such an happy ending about this story, and you are looking at the young child on screen and you are like, oh shit, this is not an happy ending at all, because you can see this adorable and beautiful child who magically was cured by cancer, and her life was saved by this crazy woman who kidnapped her from the hospital and made her go through hell, because she was basically eating on and snacking on necks during the whole movies. She has something very bad against snacks. Her own, other people's snacks, well, sometimes you have something you really don't like in a human body. I mean, who am I to judge? It wasn't an happy ending, because this beautiful child who was celebrating her 10th birthday, she was looking at you and at us like she was not even human anymore. A totally crazy, totally cruel, not good at all entity looking at you, smirking at the camera, telling you, you know, right, I'm going to raise hell on earth. Thank you for freeing me. Bye-bye. And yes, that was basically the end of the movie. But yes, I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the point, the fulcrum of the movie. For once, we have another point of view about possession. When the anthropology professor tells them about who is more vulnerable for possession, he quotes children, and we know. We know because children are so innocent and so open about the paranormal that usually they are the easiest prey, sadly. But for the Catholic Church and for the Catholic exorcist, to take a child totally is very hard, because the demon needs full willingness about the possession. A young child usually can't give that to the demon. But in this movie, we find out that other very vulnerable people for entities that we are not going to call demons, because in this case it's not a demon, is the spiritual energy left after someone died, someone who was very bad, who was doing very bad things, and who was buried alive. So not only a bad entity, but also a very pissed off one, for obvious reason. This entity preys on mental heal people and old people, because when the brain starts deteriorating, like during the Alzheimer's disease, it opens the brain and the mind to this kind of entities. And that's a beautiful point of view, one that we don't see very often, and one that is very interesting and is very well done in this movie. Is showed in the perfect way, because the movie, it starts like a documentary about the Alzheimer's disease. So we have this beautiful and elegant old woman who has the disease, who sadly has the disease. And I think it's something that we all can relate to, because every one of us, at least once in our life, had someone we loved with this kind of disease. And so we all can relate to the daughter who was taking care of her mother 24/7, and who chose drinking as coping mechanism. That is not healthy at all, but no one is going to judge her. But yes, the beginning, we see this beautiful old woman, and we know she has the Alzheimer's disease. So for a moment, we really think this is all about the disease, but then something very strange and not related to the disease is starting to happen to her. And you, for a moment, have to wonder, is this possession? Is this woman going through something as terrible as fighting at the same time against a disease that is dehumanizing and humiliating, and possession that is dehumanizing and humiliating? Or is this just something happening in her mind because of the disease? The answer is sadly, the possession of Deborah Logan is related to the disease, because the disease made her vulnerable, and this entity who waited with a lot of patience for years to get revenge on her used that moment of vulnerability to prey on her. It's very well done. It's very well timed. Something that usually is very hard to see in an horror movie is the timing. And this time, the timing is right. Everything is perfectly connected, like puzzle pieces coming together to give us the whole picture at the end. And it's a heartbreaking picture, because, yes, something terrible happened in what it looks like a beautiful place where every one of us would love to live. It happened in the past and no one speaks about it anymore. A pediatrician killed 4 young girls who had their first period when they died, and cannibalized them because he was trying to reach immortality. But he needed 5 young girls. And then we find out that Deborah's daughter was supposed to be the 5th victim, but Deborah decided that not my child. And she and her best friend, who also is the neighbor, decided that the best way to get rid of this monster was to bury him alive. Honestly, I can see the reasoning behind their actions, and I won't judge them, because really, he deserved what he got. But yes, you know, when you kill someone in a very terrible way, even if you're right, somehow, that action always comes back to bite you in the ass in the end. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Zoe, again.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like, I'd seen this film a couple of years ago, and it's one that, I mean, we all know that I'm a bit obsessed with fan footage, and there are well done ones and there are really not well done, but this has always been one of my favourites, and I've always enjoyed it because I thought it was clever. It's got legitimate scares in it, it's got great atmosphere. So I was like, okay, we have done so many bad movies, I'm going to do one that I've already seen before because I know that it's good, and I'm going to hope that you like it. So I am glad that you like it. Because it's good, it's clever, yes, it's the fan footage style of, documentary crew go in, but I like it when documentary crew go in not to film a paranormal thing, like, documentary crew go to stay in a haunted house. They're making a student film about, like, Alzheimer's, and they have footage about what Alzheimer's means, there's definition, they tell you about how the disease progresses, so you get an informative, well-developed feeling of how this disease works and how it's suffering. And also they say that half the time the people that suffer the most are the carers of those suffering from the disease. So it's really understanding and done well. But as the creepy elements start outweighing the normal side effects of this illness, it does them really, really well because they're so subtle. There's just Deborah weirdly standing in corners and staring. And then I always remember being really freaked out by the bit when she suddenly stands on the tabletops because it's like there's no break. 1 minute she's there, 1 minute she's up. And it's not. And the actress that plays Deborah, amazing because she's regal and beautiful. And then as the film progresses, you start seeing the transformation in her mental health deteriorating, just how skinny and twisted her body is. It also delivers all the exposition in a way that isn't just people going, blah, 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 this happened, blah, blah, blah. There's a mystery to solve in here. So you kind of start solving the mystery, putting the pieces together, seeing the consequences. And then again, this demonic force in it is a culmination of the original murderer that was trying to kill 5 children in his own ritual to get immortality and probably summoning something from the other realm to grant him because wanted to summon a demon to grant a wish and being stopped from doing that, and then his own negativity and evil emotions and desires starts forming into a demonic entity. And I love the idea of demons don't always have to be things that are in hell. You don't need to go around going, oh, it's Belial, oh, it's Legion. Sometimes demons are created by man on earth because of how horrible a life they lived and how angry they are when they died. And that energy, because obviously energy isn't destroyed when you die, so that energy becomes twisted and forms. At the same time, this energy still has a conduit to wherever that thing in the past was that could have granted the wish of immortality. And I love them using the snake demon. There's obviously something ancient, and at first it's just picking up snakes and and then she's vomiting up snakes and worms and stuff, and it's just and there's something in the ground, and then there's the fact that Deborah herself starts getting that reptilian skin on her back, and they're this is a skin disease, this is a complication because she's got a compromised immune system. I love that they take the time to go and sort it out medically, and a lot of this is set in the hospital, so it's not just oh my god, she's possessed. It's right, let's do everything we can to help and discover what's going on. Let's do the historical research. Let's do the medical research. Let's look into the family history. Let's look into the history of the land. Let's form a complete picture. And then obviously by the time Deborah is kidnapping poor innocent child in the hospital, and you're just oh my goodness, yeah, this thing has been waiting to get its revenge on Deborah, but to possess her so that ultimately Deborah can be the one that creates the last murder, because that's the ultimate revenge, really, possessing someone and forcing them to do the thing that they stopped in the first place. And it all comes full circle. And it's well filmed, it's well told. The atmosphere is truly creepy. The only bit that gets a little bit silly is when they're running through everything. So quick, we're running from the hospital. Quick, we're running up the hill. Oh no, they spat blood in my eye. Quick, we're running into the mines. We're running some more. And it's just okay. Oh no, I've dropped my camera. I've picked up my camera. Turn the lights off the camera. I picked up my camera. And the camera goes, okay. Maybe you could have tightened that up. Oh look, there's a hole. I'll turn off your camera. But then the final, like, I mean, the final reveal of the movie is one thing, but I wasn't expecting that final reveal in the cave of like Deborah's demonic evolution and and the special effects for it, like that proper like unhinged jaw going. It's like, oh my god, she's turning into a snake demon and trying to eat a child alive. I'm just like, oh, that is grim and horrific, but testament to like most found footage. So many found footage films, you're like, well, how did they find the footage if everybody's dead? Nobody actually dies. Like, none of the main characters die. So that's how the footage gets out there, because it's all still there. And they, for once, actually go to the trial. Like, we have said it so many times. It's like when demonically possessed people kill people, like, they just seem to, no one seems to care. But this one, no, it goes to trial. There's an actual case. She seemed unfit medically to be able to stand trial. The daughter sticks with her, but like, and then I do like the fact that half the camera crew was just like, I'm getting out of here. It's like, wow, a logical response to when really weird supernatural stuff goes down. One of the guys goes, no, this is weird. I don't like it. I'm leaving. And they're off. And, and it's very, like, it's just clever. And I love the fact that it's such a happy ending. And that little girl's just knowing look at the end. And you're just like, she looks so beautiful. She's smiling so sweetly. But there's just that look in her eyes of, like, I know something you don't. And you're just like, oh, God, oh, dear, this has not gone well.
No, indeed. And what I really liked is for once we have another kind of strong love shown to us, able to save someone. This time is the daughter who saves the mother with her love, even if it's a love stained by the tension between them. We know that relationship between mothers and daughters, when the daughters grow up and become women and start a family for themselves, aren't usually very smooth. We see that there are many tensions between Deborah and Sarah, but it doesn't matter, because in the end, Deborah is always Sarah's mother, is the one who gave birth to her, who protected her. And now that she is vulnerable and basically she regressed into a child, it's Sarah's turn to save her and to show her how much she loves her. So I like that different point of view too, because we saw mothers doing everything to save their children, arriving to sacrifice themselves to save them. We saw a father doing everything in his power to save his child. And now we see an adult daughter doing everything in her power to save her old and vulnerable mother.
No, it's good. It's nice to have a different dynamic. They definitely had a very strong bond. You could tell that they loved each other. They were mother and daughter. You could tell that like the lifestyle choices was a point of contention, but they were trying to understand and appreciate each other and their differences. The mother wasn't 100% on board with some of her daughter's choices and was stuck in some of her old ways, but it didn't mean she didn't love her daughter and they had their own difficulties, especially financially with the house and stuff, and they were trying to understand each other and work through it. Then this horrible disease was chipping away at that relationship, and then this horrible possession was chipping away at it. But Sarah never gave up. She's like, no matter what's gone on between us, whatever like disagreements and ups and downs we have, that is my mother. And she could so have easily been like, oh, I'm just going to kill my mother and save the little girl. But no, she wanted to still save her mother. And I think that's really special. That's really nice. And like, she's not chosen an easy path, because there's still so many difficult times ahead. But to show like an older woman having that kind of bond and desire to protect someone is lovely. And I do think it adds something a little bit for her also being like, she's a lesbian and she's got another partner and she's not quite ready to tell her partner, because so many of these demonic possession films is just like, it's always the children, and it's always a biological, like, oh, it's my biological child and I must protect it because it's within my DNA to and my biology as a woman to protect my child. And it's showing that a woman can be strong and like independent and caring and still have that strong desire to want to protect their mother. And it goes both ways, and it's nice to see that kind of bond.
I really enjoy the relationship between Deborah and Harris, and for a bit I thought that it could be possible for Harris to be Sarah's biological father, because their bond is so deep that it could have been something more. I am sure that Harris and Deborah could have been a couple if the bond between them wasn't born from something horrific, like stopping a monster from hurting other people. I think that kind of bond, born in such extreme circumstances, somehow it makes impossible for two people to spend a lifetime together as life partner, because they are keeping each other secret already, and that demands a lot of energies going into that aspect of their relationship. So I think they didn't have enough energies to walk the path of lovers or life partners. So it's very sad, because Harris was such an amazing character. I am not really sure why at some point he starts shooting against the house where everyone is when Deborah is already at the hospital. I guess it's because he knows that Dujardin is already walking around the house, and he's trying somehow to shoot him or something like that. That's the only explanation I gave myself.
There's kind of like two things. Is the fact that he knows that whatever this entity is, it's already in the house, so he wants to get at it. He also thinks that the camera crew and stuff are kind of like accelerating what's going on, and putting Deborah in a position and Sarah in a position where they believe more and more that bad stuff is going on. So he wants to scare away the camera crew, because partly that get them out of the house will protect them, but also maybe separating them and scaring them off will protect Deborah and his secret, so they won't dig and find out more, but will also kind of maybe slow down what's happening to Deborah, because they're filming, reminding, poking and stress isn't like making everything worse.
But yes, honestly, I really enjoyed it. It was well done. It was a pleasure to watch it. It gave me some good scares. Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah. And I was like, okay, everything is fine. Okay, my heart is still where it's supposed to be. Okay, okay, yeah. Another. Damn it, I'm too old for this. That was more or less how I was at the end of the movie. If Zoe doesn't have anything else to add?
No, not at the moment.
So, it was a pleasure to talk to Zoe. As always, she is an amazing talker and listener, and she's a saint, because I always talk too much during these episodes. So, thank you for listening, and please, if you didn't watch the movie already, do it, because it's worth it. This time is worth it. And thank you for joining us. If you want to drop us a line and tell us what you think about our podcast, please feel free to do it. And you can find us on Twitter, or we are on Facebook. You can say hi on our Facebook page, Beneath Your Skin. And you can find us on Spotify and Pinecast, Beneath Your Skin. So thank you again for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
As always, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad you enjoyed this movie. It's always good when you recommend something and go, yay, the other person likes it. And it is. It's a good film with, it's original and it's just well done and deserves more love than it gets, especially in the genre. So for now, this is me saying bye-zy-byes.